there, it's Paulie here. Woohoo! With the adventurous Mr. Snoots. Who's been wandering some places and off to some concerts lately. So, I was sent this by my friends over at Zoza. Right, so this is the Cepheus Universal. So first off, have a look at this thing. This is enormous, monstrous. What's the size on this one? 442 pages, hardback of fun. So this is the Cepheus engine. What is the Cepheus engine, you may ask? He asked. All right. So the Cepheus engine is essentially the old Traveller role-playing game engine. It's a 2d6 roll-high system. But Cepheus kind of took that original Traveller system and developed it onwards. So the Cepheus system has different difficulty numbers that you roll against. An average difficulty number is an 8 or higher on 2 dice. More difficult is like 10s, 12s. You are given skills. The skills are expressed as numbers, exactly as in Traveller. The number adds to your dice roll. So if I have a skill of Combat Rifleman 1 and I need an 8 or higher to hit, I roll 2 dice and I add +1 to it for my skill. And possibly I might get a bonus for a characteristic that also aids in that. So that's its core. It's a simple system. What is Cepheus Universal? Well, Cepheus Universal is trying to show you how to use that core system for things that go beyond, say, the Traveller style science fiction, or rather, how to do many different science fiction styles using the same system and put it all in one book, but also low-tech stuff as well if you wanted to do some kind of sword-waving thing. You can use this for that as well, though this really is focused way more on sci-fi. So Traveller essentially settled itself down into a Traveller universe and a very specific type of science fiction roleplay. This one covers a lot more ground, thus its huge size. So they've had other Cepheus engine things and so on. Why would you get hold of this? Well, you would get hold of this because of the breadth of settings and material that it covers. So first off, I guess let's just have a look at the system itself. So what they've done is added in some extra, say, over and above Traveller. And one of the things that they've added in here are things like firefight combat against hidden foes. So the basic Traveller style system where I am rolling directly to hit someone, as I just said in my example, I need an 8 or higher to hit someone out in the open. I add +1 to my skill. If I hit, I will do damage. I roll damage for the weapon, and armor subtracts from that damage. Alrighty, some weapons are listed as having higher armor penetrative capabilities, so they reduce the penetration of the armor, etc. So that's basic combat. However, they put in another system for just firing against guys who are like, very Vietnam inspired, I feel, where, yeah, there's someone out in the jungle and they're just firing at you and you're not 100% sure where it's coming from. You can just see muzzle flashes and so on. This also works in urban combat, or, someone firing up and down the parking lot or whatever, where it's not sort of very specifically one-on-one. So they've done more of an area fire system for this, where both sides kind of bring down fire into each other, and given the successes that you get, it starts to sort of roll over into damage to individuals or lessens their fire and eventually chases them off. But you will never 100% know if the other guys have gone or if they just stopped firing. There's a certain amount of risk. So that's where you have to start sending people forward to scouts and so on. And if people are moving from one position to another, so you can try and flank people's positions and so on. As individuals do that, they become individuals that can be rolled against in that individual combat system. So, bringing something in for larger combats. And I guess for those of us who wanted to do the whole mercenary style thing that was put forward as part of the Traveller universe, all right, there you go. We have something to handle another type of combat and give you another sort of challenge. So okay, yeah, yes, it's well done. This has everything that you need. So it's got, because it's not specific to the Traveller universe, it doesn't have things that were in there like Marine and Scout and these sorts of things that were specific to a specific setting. So what it does is it gives you some character career paths that are more generalized, not specific to setting, but it does give you a huge selection to choose from. What you do is you roll up characteristics. There is no chance of dying during character generation, by the way. Another thing that they fixed. They've got some interesting other bits, like you can put in notable features and so on, but you're rolling for things like education and strength and endurance and the usual things. They do a little thing called Psychoval, which is just really, in many ways, a role-playing thing that you can add onto your character if you want. You know, what's the character's personality like? The characteristics rolled on 2d6, or you can split a set amount between the characteristics. You get some modifiers to dice rolls depending on the characteristics. You can use the cool old Traveller hexadecimal system for recording characteristics if you want, where anything that goes into double digits becomes a letter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 becomes A, 11 becomes B. You know, you can do that if you want. Age, you can sort of, they haven't done that thing where you're just going through and through and through in your aging. You can essentially determine what your age is. You get a certain number of career skills to divide up between career skills that are in your chosen career. So it's not a thing where you're rolling terms and, you know, aging and whatever. So it's a more less specific but more open character system, and you're coming out of this as, you know, whatever. You're getting these skills and so on, taking gear and so on. So it isn't that term after term after term thing. You're getting some points and you're splitting up amongst different types of skills and abilities that come from your chosen career. You get some personal skills and personal abilities to add in there as well. Done. We are done. There's also a whole thing of doing sort of generating a character life path for yourself if you want. So what sort of homeworld did you come from? What was its society? What was its gravity? You know, who were your parents? What was your social standing? Did someone you care for died? What siblings you got? What your relationships are with them? What the family's with? Life events and friendships and tragedies and romances and tragic affairs that broke, and did you ever get lucky breaks? Or what's the reason for you leaving your home world? So you can generate a whole backstory if you want. It's in there as an if you want. There's some nice extra rules in here for things like stress and panic. You know, again, you don't see that in original Traveller, and that's important in case you want to doing, you know, if you've got some alien inspired or some horror inspired kind of things that you want to do. Now, the rules, of course, the other thing is gaining experience is a thing in this. In Traveller, your character was pretty much set in stone. Here, you can get experience. It's not massive because these skills are quite low numbers and they represent years of experience. But you can slowly gain more experience as you go on. So you're not just stuck in place, which is great. So what they've done is they've then put in suggestions for changes and so on coming with low-tech or high-tech settings. And then we get into different things that you might need given these settings, like but if they give you everything you need: decompression and stress and psionics and, you know, radiation sickness and combat and zero G, and, you know, hand-to-hand stuff and survival on planets and strange things for dueling if you wanted a more complex dueling system, damaging buildings, how to design starships, starship combat, how to create different beasts of burden, and all the equipment you could want is there, split into different kinds of high and low techs. And we start getting into things like vehicles and how to build vehicles, how to create your own robots. It's way flexible. You can just make all sorts of things you want. Powered armor is actually a type of robot that you kind of wear, so you design it as a robot using the robot system. Okay, that's really cool. Capital ships versus the smaller ones that players are likely to have. They've got kind of different ways of shorthanding ship-to-ship combat for big things if you want. Starship design, and that starts coming down into the design of the science fiction universe you're doing. They discuss different types of non-fast and light drives, normal drives, what sort you're going to use, what the effect is on a campaign, what different travel times are going to be. So I'm going to use fusion drives, I'm going to use chemical drives, I'm going to use some kind of anti-grav drive. These are the choices you're making. This is how it will affect your game. Here's how it will technically run. Then they do the same with faster than light drives. If you have these, here are different choices. This is how this would work. Do you want a Babylon 5 thing where there are set gates which have set pathways? Do you want traditional Traveller where there is a jump drive where you sit in place, rev up this engine for a while, and then suddenly blink, and then you are suddenly at the other position? Do you want something more Star Trek-y where you are going into a warp space? Do you want a hyperspace that you're travelling through at lengths of time? They've got all of this in there. And again, how it will affect your campaign, things to bear in mind, different ways of handling it as far as time passing and goes by. It's got how to design subsects and so on. So like Traveller and like Mongoose Traveller and so on, but with more options because it's not for one set world. How to design your own world that these will fit into. This is a Sandbox guidebook. How to make tailored Sandbox game systems, really. It goes into things like how to design alien species, alien characters, and so on. Time travel, if that becomes a thing in your campaign. Do you want it? There's tons of things on how to design patrons and people that come to you with jobs. So it's got all the things you need to sort of get a game going. And then a big section on running the game and how to make these choices and how to design the system you want. So there are systems that are very specific and will obviously have tools that you need to run a game that you really want. So I'm a big fan of Hostile, which is a Cepheus Engine one, which is very specifically inspired by, say, the Alien, or the original Alien franchise, Alien and Aliens, because fortunately they didn't make any movies beyond those two. And I have seen some that are very, what would you call it? Rockets with fins, blaster in hand, skin-tight spacesuit, all hail the Space Patrol kind of ones. So there are very specific books that do a very good job of giving you completely modified tools exactly for that system, and those are invaluable and those are great. Find them. Anything Cepheus Engine is just so playable. This one is the bigger book for designing general science fiction role-playing game campaigns, but tooling it to meet an idea you've had of how you want to run a science fiction universe, not running a set universe like the Traveller Imperium. So it covers way more ground than, say, the Traveller books that you'll find from Mongoose. And it's not too hard to sift through, as in, it's not like it's giving you extraneous material that you're going to have to laboriously read. It will be split down into, here's a general thing on starship design, here's a side section which will say, here's some decisions you might want to make about drives, and here's some charts and tables to show how long travel would take, and so on, given these different systems. So, you're given your choices. So this is a big book. It's huge, as you can see, because it's covering a lot of things. This is a great piece of work. It gives you everything you need to make a tailored science fiction adventure system. Variances from like the original Traveller style system. As I said, I think the character generation here is simpler. That thing where you're just splitting up a number of points amongst different types of skills from your career is way faster. You haven't got the weird comedy of an entire adventure party coming out of 60. I have to say, as an 18-year-old, I found that quite funny. As a 60-year-old that can crew tanks, fly airplanes, dive, has black belts in, you know, hundreds of different interesting weapons, can strip machine guns and fire tank guns. I guess I did become an original Traveller character in the end. But you don't have to be 60 to do that. Just helps. Yeah, so I think the character design is kind of more flexible and less comedic, you know. Oh, I've had 4 characters die while trying to create a character so far. I'm still in there and pitching. I'm hoping one of them makes it, you know. We've lost that. And just that toolkit that it's giving to a games master for coming up with the specific sci-fi system that they wanted to run. It's got lots of advice in here on how to run games. It's got every tool you need to create alien species, to create alien worlds, to figure out what kind of, it gives guidelines on figuring out what sort of things would happen with different types of alliances, underworld organizations, different influence groups in different areas. So it gives you the social structures you would need. You make these choices and make your own game. So look, this is a terrific piece of work. I love Zosa. They do really good work. It's very simply done. It's like you're not being faced with thousands of different really complex rules here. It's just taking that really solid framework and showing you what you can do with it. I guess as a standard, there's a lot of illustration in here. Some of it is AI, some of it is AI assisted, but there's a lot of hand-drawn art as well. You know, I guess they've done what they got to do. But yeah, it's good work. It's good work, well worth choosing. Plus, if you're ever attacked by any kind of alien civilization, you can just hit them on the head with a book. So, you know, it's probably a good thing just to keep around. Yeah, be warned and plan accordingly. Anyway, if you like original Traveller, I would suggest you pick this up and have a look at it, because we always played Traveller essentially making our own worlds anyway. This is a great way of doing that, but not being locked into any of the extraneous material that was so setting specific to original Traveller. So anyway, it's great work. Go and check it out. I will certainly be playing it, and I'll certainly be playing Hostile because I still love that thing. Yeah, and check out Zosa Games on Drive-Thru. Anyway, look after each other, keep playing, and I will hopefully see you around a gaming table someday. Cheers, everybody. Mr. Snoot says hi. Hi. Cheers.